Hey y'all, and welcome back to a new video. Today we're going to be looking at a chess game that I played recently, which I believe shows exactly what happens when white goes wrong in the Nimzo Indian. This game was played as a training game at my local chess club, where my opponent's a bit lower rated than me, around 200 points lower rated, and the time control was 25 minutes with 10-second increment. So let's just get into the chess. So my opponent started off the game with d4. I played knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3, and bishop b4, which of course is the Nimzo Indian defense, which is what we're going to be looking at in this video. Of course, you can also play the move knight f3 here. You can play it like a Catalan. You can play g3 in some lines. There's many options. Normally, after a move like knight f3, I really enjoy playing bishop b4 check anyway, because I think it's kind of cool. If you go back to knight c3, then we have a Nimzo Indian. And if you play something else, if you play a move like bishop d2, I can play this move queen e7, which is a nice line. I can also play this move a5, which is a nice line. And there's some interesting theory here, but okay. We're looking at the Nimzo Indian. So knight c3, bishop to b4, and my opponent played e3, sorry, which is, I believe, I forget what this position is called. I think it's the Rubinstein variation. I don't remember. My chess.com isn't showing me. It's going at the normal line. I don't really remember. But there's some very reasonable theory here. In this position, black's main idea is either to play the move pawn to c5 or pawn to d5. These are the main ideas of this position, where black eventually is going to have to take some control of the center. But black really only wants to do that when we're sure how white is going to develop these two pieces. If white plays a move like knight f3, then we actually want to play this move d5, because then we're going to be targeting the pawn, pressuring it, and we're eventually going to play a move like c5. Both of them try to take in the center and take here. If my opponent plays the move bishop d3, or bishop d2, for instance, probably bishop d3 is a much more reasonable move, then it's likely that he's going to play the move knight e2 to defend this knight. And in that position, we actually want the move pawn to c5. Why do we want the move pawn to c5? Well, because with the knight on e2 instead of the knight on f3, the pawn to c5 puts more pressure towards the center because the knight can't jump here in some lines. And to be honest, that's just what the theory says. So I'm just going to follow the theory. Anyway, so that's why you castle short here, because you wait for white to first develop the pieces, and then you set up with your reasonable setup with d5 or c5. My opponent played bishop d3, and of course I went for the line that I know with pawn to c5. My opponent now made her first little interesting move. It's not bad yet, but it's not exactly what you should be doing. In this position, you should be going with knight e2, and then I'm going to play the move pawn to d5. In this position, try to take here, and eventually what I want is a position where I can take, pawn takes here, and develop the pieces like this and play against an isolated pawn. Let's just see that on the board. Let's say my opponent castles. I'm going to take, pawn takes here, and I'm going to play this move knight bd7. And the point is that I'm simply going to go here. I'm going to blockade this pawn. I'm going to develop my light squared bishop like this, fully blockade this pawn, make sure it can't go forward, and black's going to have a bit of a comfortable game where black has already completely equalized out of the opening. But okay, my opponent decides to change to a different line, one that I believe gives black a little more leeway to do what they want. She played the move pawn to a3, which is still okay. It's still okay, but it transposes a little bit into, I believe, the same-ish variation after takes, and move knight c6, where black is doing reasonably well, and I feel like these positions, well, they're still better for white, and there's still like a ton of theory here. I believe these positions are a bit more complicated for white if you don't know what you're doing, which I believe my opponent did not. In fact, I remember the line that she wanted to play was not with a3. She wanted to play this move knight e2. Yeah, she was supposed to play knight e2, but instead, of course, a3, knight c6, and we get into a position that I actually know very well, and I don't believe my opponent knew at all, which is why she made a mistake again with the move knight f3. Although computer says knight f3 is the best move, I would disagree. I would disagree with Stockfish here. I still think that knight e2 is a better move, and the reason why knight e2 is a better move is because how does white want to actually like develop their pieces here? That's an interesting question. Um, White wants to develop like this. White wants to go here. Let me just play some random move, castle, play some random move, and eventually, let's say I have this defended. Let's say my opponent goes like, I don't know. I don't know. Let's just say I have the square defended, so my opponent can't play e4 immediately. My opponent is eventually going to try and play this move f3 and play e4 in the future. That's basically the plan for white in these lines. And while putting the knight on f3 looks reasonable, it does block this idea of f3 e4 in the future. So it's not the best move. Okay, but anyway, knight f3 is on the board. I play the very, very simple way of putting my pawn on d6, which is what you're supposed to do in the same-ish. The point of this move, pawn to d6, is you are defending this pawn, but more reasonably, you're actually defending the e5 square, which is important, and you want to push the move pawn to e5 in the future. So this also prepares for that. You're also allowing your light square bishop to go out, and you're kind of making it so that you're kind of telling your opponent that you don't think it's going to be very, very dangerous if they push in the center, because you think that after pushing the center, these pawns are just going to be weak in the long run, and you can't really deal with that as the white pieces. The plan for black is to play this move pawn to e5, hope for this, come back, argue these pawns are weak forever, and then eventually go on some like kingside play with like h6, knight g6, knight h7, f5, something like this, right? But okay, my opponent played short castles, and I played the move pawn to e5. This is the plan. If my opponent takes, the position gets considerably worse for the white side. I don't think it really matters how I take. I probably take back with the pawn. And the problem with white is just these terrible, terrible isolated pawns, and the dark squared bishop here in the long run is not going to be too good of a piece. Like, I don't really see how it's getting out very easily. Like, you're gonna play a4 and bishop a3, but when you do that, I can play move like pawn to b6, play queen e7, play knight a5 to stop the a4 pawn. I don't know. It doesn't seem very, very reasonable to get the bishop out, so you really can't do this with a white side. So my opponent played the move pawn to d5, and here's the only actually bad move I made all game. I should have played pawn to e4 here, which I looked at during the game, but I didn't really believe in it. I didn't think that this was very strong. I thought DC, I would probably like take the bishop. My opponent really can't take this pawn. This is just a pawn sacrifice. Obviously, like if my light squared bishop gets open up, it should be very, very good for the black pieces, so you can't do this. Like move like, I don't know, queen d3. And I'm not so sure like this position is like that strong. Like I played a move like rook e8, rook d1, bc, queen d6, takes, a knight e4 the computer finds. I don't know, maybe not rook e8, maybe like queen c7, and then like here rook d8, something like this. But already, I mean, this position is very, very annoying to play. Like you can play a whole lot of things here. Computer gives e4 and this idea to play e5. That's really annoying. So I just thought that this was a little too dangerous to play, and I didn't want to go into these lines, so I just simply played the move knight e7, just going with my normal plan that I just told you, with the idea of h6, knight g6, knight h7, and f5. And of course, my opponent has to play the move pawn to b4 now, where I will be doing quite well. There was also another idea here to move the knight back to d2 and eventually play this move, maybe knight e4, or play with f3 e4 or e4 immediately. Knight d2 is interesting, but I don't think it's especially strong, because after knight d2, I believe I simply go knight g6. A move like knight e4 isn't very good because here f5, so you can't really do this with a reasonable way of playing. I don't think this is especially strong. Knight g4 is basically the same thing, except now your knight really doesn't have any other options besides going to e4, and this variation is relatively forced. So probably knight e4. Knight g4 would be worse than knight d2. Anyway, my opponent played the move pawn to e4, which seemed very, very reasonable, and I played the move pawn to h6, which made a lot of sense. First of all, I'm stopping anything coming to this square. I was worried that if I play the move knight g6 here, my opponent might have this option of playing bishop g5. Even though it's not especially strong, I didn't really want to let my opponent have too many options. And in some lines, h6 is very, very necessary, as the knight does need to go back to h7. And there was another idea that maybe I can play g5 in some like weird position, but not for the moment. My opponent decided to mirror me with the move pawn to h3, which I didn't think was especially reasonable. I thought that my opponent probably should go with a different move, maybe like, I don't know, it's kind of difficult. My opponent needs to play f4. This is the big idea of the white position, but if I move the knight back, it's a problem. Maybe king h1, and the idea is knight g1, f4. Probably not. I can probably go knight d1, maybe? Knight e1? Oh, there we go. There we go. This seems like a very reasonable move. Computer gives this as the best move, but I'm not entirely convinced. You play f4. There's also a4. Computer gives a4, actually. I don't know about a4. I don't know about a4. h3 seems like it does more. Anyway, so h3. I played the move knight g6 quite quickly. Just seemed like a reasonable move. And my opponent played knight h2. And obviously her idea is that she wants to play the knight on g4 and then like have me take something and maybe play f4. Like this is obviously maybe the plan. It's either knight g4 or f4, and knight g4 doesn't make much sense, so probably you want to go f4. But in this position, I kind of got a little bit too scared of the f4 threat, and I should have been a little bit more positional, and I should have realized that the idea of knight f4 was a very strong move. The point is knight f4 takes. This pawn isn't exactly weak. Let's say my opponent like targets it. I can actually play this move pawn to g5, and the dark squares are fully controlled. The light squares are decently controlled, and I have some attack in the future. I should have gone with this, but to be honest, I wasn't really looking in this direction. Instead, I was just looking at how do I stop f4, and I didn't really understand that knight f4 was a very, very reasonable way of doing that. So instead, I decided to play the move rook e8, which is inaccurate. It's not the best move in the position, but I thought that this move was probably fine. I'm stopping f4 because, of course, f4 now e takes. Like here, I can just take the pawn. It's very, very simple. And if I'm stopping f4, I just thought that it'd probably be a pretty reasonable move because that kind of halts like all of my opponent's play. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. I don't have like too much time in the clock. I'm probably fine. Rook e8, it probably shouldn't hurt my position that much, but it does kind of take away all my advantage, and it is just 0, 0, 0 all over the board. Like my opponent just like repeats moves here. So she played the move queen f3, which is reasonable. Like you're trying to make some attack here. It's a little bit annoying for black. Black has to actually like think about his moves for a second. But I thought I had a very, very clever way of dealing with this. I played the move knight h4. And knight h4, what it does, first it attacks the queen. And if the queen stays, I was going to play this move pawn to g5, which I thought was really cool. I thought this move was really cool. And then I'm looking at this queen, I'm like, wow, this queen is like almost getting trapped. It's like, it's pretty bad. Like the sacrifice never works. Just to show you, the sacrifice never works. I can just go knight g6 and I'm fine. This queen is like really misplaced. Like if you go here, I can probably just come back to g6 and get full control over the f4 square. My opponent can't even play g3 because of bishop h3 in this position. This knight is kind of out of the game. If you play knight f3, I can just go knight f4 and I have like some sacrifices. Like I thought this was really, really cool, this g5 idea. Actually, after the game, I was talking to one of the masters there, and I realized that I completely missed a better move. I could just simply play the move knight h5. I just didn't see this move because the queen opens up here, and this is just a faster way of getting to the f4 square where I'm just brutalizing the king. I thought g5 was cool though, and it's a reasonable move. It's actually a very, very reasonable move. It's the second line of the engine. Knight h5 is better, but g5 seemed like a very reasonable option. Anyway, my opponent didn't go for queen g3. Instead, she played the move queen e2, and I decided to do the tried and true method of repeat the position once and then change it up. My first intention was I'm just gonna go g5 here. I'm just gonna go g5 here. I'm gonna vibe. I'm gonna relax. I'm probably okay. I'm not sure if that's exactly what I should do in this position because, well, the computer gives g3, knight g6, and h4, which I saw during the game, but I wasn't entirely convinced that this was bad for black. Like, I didn't think that this was like so dangerous. Like, I thought I hadn't worked out all the possibilities yet, but I thought I could probably just take it, bishop h6, and like, I don't even know. Actually, that's a good question. What do I play here? Because he's going bishop g5. This was my problem during the game, but I still wasn't entirely convinced. No, this actually looks really bad. Okay, yeah, probably then I shouldn't go g5 here. But then what should I do? Then probably this whole idea of knight h4, g5 is just like not very good unless the queen is on g3. So then I should have played what I played in the game, which was just knight g6. This is what I played in the game. And the point of this move was I'm allowing her to repeat again with this move queen f3, and then I was gonna figure it out. I don't know if I was gonna play knight h4 again or something else. I was probably gonna play knight h4 again. I wasn't gonna repeat again. Like after queen e2, I was gonna change it up. I was gonna maybe play like knight h7 here or something, play for f5, rook f8, f5, something like this, maybe. I can't go knight g6, of course, because then it's a draw. Queen f3 is just actually just a draw. 3-move repetition. So I would probably go with knight h7. But okay, after knight g6, she decided to switch it up and played a very, very bad move, in my opinion. Oh, wait, where are we? This knight g6. And played a very, very bad move, in my opinion. She played the move knight g4. And knight g4 is just a mistake. It's just a big mistake, actually. A very, very big mistake. And I was considering, like, how to punish this, because obviously I should take this, right? I should obviously take the knight. That's like the most reasonable move in the position. I take the knight, the pawn here, and then I figure it out. Like there's some pressure here. I can maybe go like queen h4. I thought was maybe a move. Put pressure on the pawn immediately. The bishop targets. But then I was like, after f3, like what am I doing? I have the dark squares, but it could be a lot better, and I can't play this move f5. So I was like, okay, I need a better move. I was also considering of taking with the bishop. And the point was, well, this is a locked position. Normally knights are better than bishops in locked positions. And then I saw a really interesting idea, and this was I thought was very cool. So I took the knight, which in my opinion is the best move, hg, and I play this move knight to f4, which is basically the move that happened earlier in the game, which I showed you. Where was it? It was a little bit ago. Instead of this rook e8, remember back here, the best move was knight to f4. And it has the same idea, but in the other position where I played it, I believe it's probably even better, because after knight to f4, my opponent has to take it. If my opponent doesn't take it, I simply take, and take the pawn. So my opponent has to take the knight. I take back with the pawn, and you might say at first that this pawn is a bit of a weakness. This pawn is not really that strong. Like, I can't really play g5 because then my king is kind of weak. You have these e4 ideas. g3 is an idea in some lines to just fully like stop me. But actually, if you ever go after my pawn on f4, your pawn on g4 is going to be a bit of an issue, and black has some serious attacking potential in this position. Like, maybe I can play a move like g6, king g7, h5 takes, rook h8, put the queen on g5, and try to kill you. Like, there's like a ton of like options in this position, and I thought the position was in my opinion, very, very bad for white already. Even maybe like minus like 1, minus 1.2. Computer finds some way to like save this, but I'm not convinced. So my opponent played the move queen f3, which is already a mistake and gives me my advantage. Apparently you're supposed to go f3, which I thought was a move, but then I was just like, I was looking at this position, I just thought that I had to have something. Like I probably can play like rook e5 or something even, and play like h5 takes, pawn takes, queen h5, something like this. Maybe I can play like, I don't even know, like queen h4 here. I was considering h5 immediately was something I was considering in the game. There was like there's a lot of like problems for white in this position, even with the pawn on f3, because well, white's king is just like fully like caught. I have the dark squares, and I'm gonna play a move like, I'm just gonna play g5 in this position. I'm just gonna play g5, king g7, h5 in here, and I'm just gonna say, like, what are you gonna do to stop me? What are you gonna do to stop me? He doesn't do anything to stop me. He sits there and cries. Like, I'm gonna have a good position. Um, but okay, you played queen f3. Sorry, not you, but my opponent played queen f3, and I thought for a little bit, and I played the very very easy move, queen g5. The point is, I'm targeting the pawn, I'm defending my own pawn. Of course, I'm attacking the pawn, so you likely have to go with this move, bishop e2. Otherwise, it's going to get into a bit of an issue. My opponent plays bishop e2, technically inaccurate. You're supposed to play g3 and just like give up the pawn. If you take like this position is just awful. These pawns are dead. I don't care about this. I can just play f6, I thought, and your pawns are gonna fall here. I don't know. I'll figure something out. Your position is so bad. You have two sets of double pawns, like 3 pawn islands. No, you should lose. But instead, bishop e2, which I think is probably the most reasonable move. And I play this very, very interesting move, rook e5, which I thought was really cool. I thought this move was so cool during the game, because I need to figure out how to get my pieces into the game, because this rook still needs to play. This rook hasn't moved since the start of the game. It's been 20 moves. This rook hasn't moved once. I need to get this rook into the game somehow. And the way that I wanted to get this rook into the game was play bishop d7, play g6, king g7, rook h8. This is what I wanted to do. But I thought that this rook probably could have had a better life if I would be able to like activate it immediately with a move like rook e5 or like something else. Really, the setup that I want is to get all of my pieces onto the h file and open up the h file. Let's say like a position, like a dream position, like a queen on h4, rook on h8, rook on h7, no h pawn, white gets mated, right? This is like my dream in this position. And to achieve that, I'm eventually going to need to play h5, I'm going to need to play king g7, g6, and I'm going to need to bring this rook over. So what do? I start with this move, rook e5. And the point of rook e5 is, one, I might be preparing h5 now, which could be a little scary. I'm also getting g6 h5 as in the idea, and it's going to be defended when I do this. Two, now this rook is not going to be blocking my other rook when it gets over here, and this rook is going to be doing a very, very nice, easy job on the e file, putting pressure on this pawn as well, which isn't that big of a deal, but every bit of pressure is helpful. Maybe there's an idea in the future to go queen g6, queen f4 here, queen f3, bishop g4, maybe something like that. But instead, my opponent plays rook ab1, and now, of course, she's trying to like stop me from getting my plan of bringing the rook to the h file by making this bishop unable to move. So what do? Well, I still have improving moves before I have to move the bishop. So I was like, okay, I'm going to move the bishop last, and then I'm going to bring my rook over. It's going to be a problem. We're going to see what happens. So first I play the move g6. Very reasonable move. Very, very reasonable move. King g7 is my idea. h5 is my idea. Right? This is what I was talking about. This is the plan. Okay, my opponent plays a4, which is a reasonable move. Eventually, their idea is to play a5 and stop me from playing b6. Well, not stop me from playing b6, but put pressure on b6 when I do play b6. It's a very, very reasonable idea. It's an idea that like happens all the time in these structures. It doesn't want me to be able to free my position on the queen side. Okay, now I decided, okay, I'm going to play the move pawn to h5. And I thought that in this position, it was going to get very, very complicated for the white pieces. And I believe that I am correct. Also, something to note here is that my opponent had very, very low time on the clock. She was playing quite slowly. And when you play slowly in like a rapid game like this, 25 minutes plus 10, the opponent will be able to like take big advantage of that in the game. My opponent, I believe, was down to around 2 minutes here, and I had around, I don't know, like 12, 14, something like that. I had a reasonable amount of time, and I thought that I could probably outplay her pretty easily with the added time bonus. And if I keep the position complicated, she will have to keep spending time, and I will be just doing quite well. So my opponent took the pawn on h5. Of course, this is likely forced. Otherwise, I'm just going to take the pawn, right? So I have to take it. I take back with the h-pawn. And now I'm looking at ideas like a bishop g4, which is just like so scary if you have low time. I don't think it exactly works, but it's a frightening move. And here she kind of dropped the ball. Like she was just trying to play moves at this point. I don't think that any of these moves are very good. She played the move rook fc1. Um, I don't think that bishop g4 works right now. So what I wanted to do, like queen d3. If I take the bishop here in f3, you just take it. I don't really have the mating attack just yet. Like if I play like takes here, now you can play f3, and I don't see how I break through. Of course, I still break through with like f5 and stuff, but I wanted it to be pretty clear cut at this point, and I wasn't sure about bishop g4. So instead, I first played the move rook b8, which I thought literally could not hurt. Literally could not hurt. Now I'm freeing up my bishop to move, and I'm defending the b7 pawn. Like, literally could not hurt. My opponent played the move pawn to a5. And here I started thinking for a while of how I wanted to win this game. Because obviously black is like way better. Black is way better. But I still don't see the knockout punch. Computer gives bishop g4. Computer gives a ton of stuff. King h8. I believe king g7 is probably up there. Yeah, king g7 is like a good move. Bishop d7, for instance, is like -2. But the move I played is technically bad. The move I played is technically bad, but I believe that it is probably the best way to play in this position. I thought that I saw a position where I know that I am better. I know that I am better. After bishop g4, I wasn't entirely convinced. Of course, I am better. Like I can play f5, f3, like I don't know, takes, rook b8, takes here, and I just like win the game. And probably I should have gone for that. To be honest, I probably should have gone for that. Probably this is what I should have gone for. But instead, I decided to do it where I knew I had a positional advantage and I knew I could outplay my opponent. I played this move f5, which is given a mistake by the engine, and I knew it wasn't the best move, but I believe it's very strong because after my opponent takes this pawn, I take on e4, you take my queen, I take back. I have these nice pawns. Your pawns are very misplaced, and my position should be very strong. Also, there was a very interesting calculation that I had in this position, which was ef5 completely loses because of bishop f5. My opponent, if you go like rook a8, you just lose a bishop. I just win the bishop, even though it's like probably a better move because rook b2 is even cooler. I go here, queen d3, takes, and f3. And I'm attacking mate and I'm attacking the rook, which I thought was really cool. This is a really cool idea. Now that I'm looking at it, I realize that you have queen f1, which I didn't see, but you should still be like completely winning after rook e8. I don't know. Yeah, how did I miss queen e1 actually? Queen f1. Huh. Okay, I thought I didn't realize queen f1 was on idea. But okay. Anyway, my opponent takes on h5. I took on e4, which I thought was just like obviously the best move. If I take the queen first, I thought this was a worse version because my opponent moves the bishop back. I guess he even plays g4. I was just gonna move the bishop back to e2. And then it would take me another turn to go rook g5. I don't know. I guess it's the same position as what I got in the game, but it doesn't matter as a transpose. So queen g5, rook g5, and we end up in this position where my opponent is down to around a minute on the clock and I have around 5. My opponent played king f1. And here I played a very bad move. Like I played an atrocious move, but it wasn't so bad. It's not like losing or anything. It still like keeps Black's advantage, but it's not a good move. I thought that my opponent wasn't going to be able to react in time to my threats because again, she had like a minute on the clock and I just wanted to be really tricky. So I played the move B6, which is just bad. I don't know what I was thinking with this move. This move is not very good. Um but the idea behind this move is that currently F3 doesn't work. And the point is GF3, my idea is here and I'm trying to mate him, right? But it doesn't work. I'm not in time. I'm not in time to mate him. In fact, there is like just a way to get like a really pleasant advantage with bishop f5, but I don't know why I would keep it complicated here. I've never played this line. But I really wanted to make this idea of f3 work with this bishop h3 idea because I'm like, oh my god, you're getting like mated. It's so bad. So I thought I would try to trick her. And the way I did that was with b6 because I knew that with like seconds on the clock, like 30 seconds or something, my opponent would probably snap like the next couple of moves. Like very easy. Oh, b6, he made a mistake. Okay, I'm going to take it. And then instead of taking with the a pawn, which is the better move, I played the tricky move, which is rook takes b6. And this is stupid. It's a really bad idea, but I was just like full banking on her not seeing my threat, which was rook b6 a b6, and the idea was that I'm tricking her, I'm baiting her into playing the move rook b1, which I thought was losing. Apparently it's not losing. Apparently you can hold this with white. I don't think you can. You should be losing here. But now the idea of f3 works. Now the idea of f3 works. The reason why this isn't completely lost is because you take on b6, takes, and you just like survive this. I don't know, man. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have to defend this pawn. Rook g6. I don't know, man. I guess, but it's like it's not like easy. It's not easy at all. I'm gonna win this pawn. I'm not sure. I'm not sure this is actually good for white. This is actually drawing. It probably is, but with seconds on the clock, again, I don't think that you can do it. These are all like difficult moves to play. But instead, after f3, my opponent took on it. Bishop h3, king e1, and rook g1, which is my whole idea. King d2, and I took the rook, and my opponent simply resigned the game. However, there was another idea that was very, very cool here. My opponent could instead play the move rook a1, which I thought was pretty cool. And the idea is you're threatening this, so I can't go for this right now, because if I go for this right now, my opponent simply goes rook a8, and I'm gonna lose the bishop. I'm gonna like take the bishop, but actually, black is just worse here because of these pawns. So instead, what I would probably do after rook a1 is I was thinking I was probably just gonna go king f7 or something, like rook a8, bishop f5 or something like this, and I was gonna try and survive this. I knew I wasn't worse at all, but yeah, I have kind of lost my advantage. But either way, this is the position, and I won the game. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I believe I played very, very well out of the opening. Of course, she messed up with this knight f3 instead of knight e2 and didn't really understand the ideas of f3, e4, but that's kind of just what happens when you don't really know the opening, is that the person that knows the opening is probably going to get a good position. I believe I got a very interesting position. This move knight f4, I want to touch back on. This move knight f4 is really cool, I think, because this isn't a move that you think is very good, because of course, well, your pawn is so weak, you can have these double pawns, you just like ruined your blockade of the center, right? Yeah, but like I control the dark squares now and your pawns are weak, so I thought that was a really cool move. Other than that, of course, I probably shouldn't have gone for all the stupid tricky stuff. F5, probably just a big mistake. What was it? Rook b6, really stupid. B6, really stupid, but I wanted to win the game. Anyway, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys found this entertaining, instructive, all the above. If you did, remember to like, subscribe, do all the normal things YouTubers tell you to do. And yeah, that's it. good evening, and good night.